Up next on Inside ChampCar, Bill Snow, never late to grid. Up next on Inside ChampCar, never late to grid. Up next on Inside ChampCar, or welcome to Inside ChampCar. I'm your host, Bill Strong. Brian is at the runoffs this week, and Tim Elliott is here alongside us, attempting to take over his place.
No, I don't want that spot. I'll fill it in.
Bill Snow, or joining us tonight is Bill Snow with Rad Air Dodge Neon. Bill, how you doing, buddy?
I'm awesome. I'm on a podcast live video with both of you two. I couldn't be better. Thanks for having me.
What's really awesome is it's nice and sunny with overcast clouds there at Nelson Ledges, where you're at.
It's always beautiful at Nelson Ledges.
Yeah, Fred won't let you into the track right now, will he?
No, probably not.
Speaking of
we
who,
can sneak around though.
Yeah. Speaking of who, Fred's there. Hey, Fred, how you doing, buddy? So, Bill, Rad Air. Tell us a little bit about Rad Air. What is that?
Yeah, so Rad Air Complete Car Care, and sometimes we call it Raid Air because it started off as radiators and air conditioning. We have 10 full-service automotive repair facilities in Northern Ohio. That's the only place we exist in Northern Ohio, although we're trying to grow it. Been around since 1975, and motorsports has been in our blood for a long, long time. And we picked up a Dodge Neon 2.5 years ago and did an enduro with it. And everyone said, let's do more of this. So we ended up doing a lot of work to that car. We picked up a second car, did a lot of work to that car, and now we're having fun in ChampCar.
Cool. Now, how did you get started in racing?
So it goes back quite a ways. So my father would take me to Mid-Ohio for all the pro stuff, all the vintage stuff, just to watch, just spectating. We'd go to the Cleveland Grand Prix, and I really got the itch. Started autocrossing. I had a 280ZX in high school. Started autocrossing that with the SCCA. In college, I started karting, and then I pit crewed for a group of guys who campaigned an RX-7 in the longest day at Nelson Ledges. And afterwards, they said, you have to come work for us on our Formula Atlantic team. Work for us meant gopher.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Sweeping.
That's it.
Scraping tires, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Wiping the car down with some 409 and WD-40. But anyways, that was a great experience to see behind the scenes of what road racing was. And then, took a break for a while, got into autocross again after when our kids were younger. I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. My oldest daughter started racing karts. Yeah. And what got me into road racing from behind the wheel was my daughter raced karts at PittRace. And when she was 12, she did really well, a couple track championships, a lot of podium finishes. When she was wrapping up doing that, she was a senior. One of the guys who was pretty much my age said, hey, can you help me build a kart? Sure. And we did. And then he said the same thing. Can you help me get a car ready for ChampCar and endurance racing? And we campaigned a E30 and WRL, ChampCar, and then just sort of morphed into a couple different teams and cars, and now we're doing it with Rad Air.
Very cool. Now,
yeah,
you started out. I heard you're running Neons now.
Yes, yeah, 2 Dodge Neons. So if you remember during COVID,
right?
Race cars and flatten the curve. The T-shirt worked.
Yeah.
My business partner came across a great deal on a Neon, which was an ITA SCCA car. It came with a trailer. Screaming deal. And we kind of fell into that, and we're continuing to stumble and fall along.
Cool. Hold on a second. I got to answer. So, I've kind of got a promotion, so I have to do some stuff here real quick. Okay. There we go. All right. So why did you choose a Neon?
The price was right.
Okay. Now,
and I'll tell you, so here's real quickly, we have to answer that question every race weekend. Everybody that stops by has a Neon story, and then they end it with, Why a neon?
Yeah. But so there was a neon spec series. I mean, they were raced all over the place. They said hi on the back of it. I mean, they were,
I ran that. I ran the Neon Challenge series for 2 races up at Road America 2 years in a row, but they were doing like 6 or 7 throughout the country. And they had 20 cars for actors, and Alfonso Rivero, I actually ate lunch with at Road America. America's Funniest Home Video.
Oh yeah.
He was racing one of them. And I mean, they were cool cars. 94, 95, 96. I was one of the first in the nation that got an ACR package to race in SCCA racing.
Which was a really fast car. I mean, that kind of goes along with like the Shelby Charger GLHSs or the Shelby Omnis, the CSX. So yeah.
And hey, now I'm in ChampCar and the Miatas are whipping on everything.
Yeah. Well, it's a Miata. They, you get enough of them, they can win something, right?
We were beating them, man. We were beat.
So the neon. So what have you? Is yours an ACR or is it just a regular neon? That's
No, they both started off as ACRs, and we've upgraded, with points, of course.
Right.
Suspension, exhaust, oil cooler. That was one thing we noticed was just oiling issues at PittRace last year. So we've got those worked out, and we'll be showing up there again in a couple of days. We've done everything we can to make them stout, and any failure point we came across, which has been many, we found a workaround or a way to beef it up.
What's crazy is that Dodge actually built them to race, but not. Most manufacturers don't build them to race for as long as we race them for.
No, 20, 30 minutes, 45 maybe. Yeah, you just gas them and go. And it's like I did do an SCCA race with one of our cars last summer. And all you did was you ran it for 20 minutes, 25 minutes in a race, couple practice sessions. And then all we did was sit outside the trailer in the shade.
Yeah.
That's it. Of course, you're putting it through, 14 or 8 hours or 7 hours, and a lot more stuff is going to succumb to stress.
So with most of the cars in this series, you see guys put on these like 345 tires, super wide, 245, whatever, 15s. And that was a huge decrease in lap times when cars started doing that. I don't really see the neons running extremely wide tires, other than being front wheel drive and bearing issues. I mean, I don't know why.
I don't know how much more we could stuff under there. We're at 225 now. When we first started running it, I'm trying to think of PittRace. I'm pretty sure we had the 14 still, and we moved up to a 15. So I think that was a 195.
Wait, you could find 14s?
Yeah, we can only find one tire. I think it was the 660.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all we could find. So, of course, moving to 15 gave us a lot more options.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and can you put 17s on that?
I'm sure we could find a way. They'd be rubber bands, but we'd squeeze them in there.
Yeah, because you build your suspension because the tire's part of the suspension too. You throw rubber bands on it, and that could seriously affect everything.
Yes.
So
yeah, and that's the one thing I love about racing too is when we were still running the 14s, we'd show up to an event, whether it be SCCA or track day or a ChampCar event, and everyone would be giving us, hey, you need to go here, you need to try this. We've run these 4 different tire variations. This is the one we found the best. I know we didn't get all their secrets, but that's again one thing I love about motorsports and racing is everyone's willing to give you a little bit to help you get competitive. So that's why we decided on where we are with the 15s.
So being that you're a front wheel drive racer and Tim's a front wheel drive racer and I'm not a racer,
you're a front wheel drive too. You ran a Mini this year.
Yeah, I did. But I did race a Shelby Charger GLHS, but just mainly HPDE, not race, HPDE and Solo 2. Remember that? I did some Solo 2s with it. Yeah. Now, is it hard to find front wheel drive drivers in that can handle that car and drive it well?
So that's what most of the drivers will say is I've never done front wheel drive. They hop out of that and like, this thing's a blast to drive. Yes, I had to make some changes to the way I approach things, but and we did a 14-hour at Nelson this year with it. A gentleman with a Z06 popped out and was like, "That's a frickin' blast." Just at Mid Ohio, we had a Spec Miata racer. That was one of our drivers. He too came out with a huge smile. I think there's a little bit of changes, every driver's got to make, but once they learn it, and Tim can attest to this, for whatever reason, that neon is fun to drive.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. You're watching your mirrors because you've got people on both sides of you, but you're in those corners and you're just having a blast.
Does it weigh under 2,000 pounds?
No, I think we're weighing in around 2,200.
That's still pretty light.
Yeah.
So now, are you able to lighten it up more, or is it just the reliability issues with it having too light?
No, so we have two cars, 975. We have some more weight reduction we can do on that one. The second car, which is 23, previous owner did a lot of weight reduction to it. There's a couple things we can do, but that one's pretty close to where it's maxed out.
I always look at you as an arriving, you have arrive and drive drivers. You kind of want to make it more reliable than you would if you had a set team, because those guys know how to work on the car or deal with the car. Arrive and drives, you kind of need to make it a little more robust.
Yes. And, sometimes if you don't know the arrive and drive driver, you don't know if there's someone that's willing to get their hands dirty or put their feet up. So luckily we've known all of our paid guys, and they're willing to get a little dirty if they need to.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, and plus they're paying. So, you got to get,
I got to pay to work on the car with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We had a Porsche Cup driver like that. What, you want me to work on it? It's like, dude, we all work on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now what, with that car, what's your favorite track to race at?
So we've done Nelson, we've done Gingerman, Pitt, and Mid Ohio. Gingerman, I didn't get a lot of seat time in it, as if both of you may remember. We were dealing with some different things during the week, but Mid Ohio was a lot of fun, and that's probably where I had the most seat time in that car. It can't compete on the backstretch, but through the corners, it's pretty fun to wheel around.
That's 140 horse engine, 130 horse. Or my
probably was
way off. Oh, it was.
no, it's not higher. It's probably lower.
Oh, okay.
We did just put some new bearings and some rings in it, OE stuff over the winter, but I don't know why I have to qualify everything, like you're reminding it, hey, it's within spec, it's OE.
That's all right. That's what you do in ChampCar. Come on, man. It's stock. Right. You always have to put quotes around stuff. Or is that me?
They were stock at 132 horse.
Okay. So that's pretty funny, because even at the ACR, is that the ACR wasn't, that was closer to 180, wasn't it?
No.
Oh.
ACR 132. That was all they give it.
It's funny how just a few, a decade earlier, they were running the Shelby or the 2.2s and 2.5s with, 200 plus horsepower. So,
sure. But we could probably be close to the same lap times as they were back then too, because they handled better. The neon better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm just thinking back to I loved my Shelby Charger. It was just so much fun to drive. Once I learned, because I started out racing doing track days with a Corolla GTS, autocrossed it the whole bit. That's what all those trophies that you can't see or plaques are. Way back in, before you were born, Bill. But when I transitioned over to the Charger, way different driving. I was at Firebird Raceway. I remember going into one of the first corners after the long straightaway, and I lifted as I went into the corner and just spun around multiple times. Next lap, did it again. They black flagged me, brought me in. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And the guy said, "You've never driven front wheel drive, have you?" And he said, "Yeah, you power in, slow in, fast out." And it's like, oh, that makes sense. Let me try that again, and picked it right up.
It clicked,
There's more than two positions on that throttle too. You don't have to be fully off. You don't have to be fully on all the time. As long as you're applying power coming out of the corners, it'll pull you through.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a fine line. You can actually get the rear ends to oversteer
Oh,
for
yeah.
you if you lift a little bit. But there's a fine line that it took me a long time to learn how to do that with the Neon back when I was running it, but I got pretty good at doing that too.
I drove a Shelby Chargers, or no, Shelby Daytona Turbo Z when they were as an 87 model, which I still think is probably one of the better ones. And turbo 2 engine in it, but the suspension was just so sweet in that. You could four-wheel drift it, and you could really hang the rear out on that guy. And just fun car to drive. Those big 225 50-15s on it, which were big tires in the day, you know. So.
Yeah. Why so many Dodges back then?
Well, I'm a Dodge guy. I was always a Dodge guy growing up. We had a 68 Charger. Of course, my first car that I bought was a Vega. That's kind of like a Dodge, right? I was in the Air Force. Across the street was the duty free Dodge store, and so I got to see all the latest and greatest. My neighbor, I bought the Corolla and moved into a new house in Phoenix, in Peoria. My neighbor was one of the guys that ran the proving grounds, the Chrysler Proving Ground. So I got to test drive he'd bring stuff home all the time. We'd go out in this little area where they were building homes. Nobody was there yet. So we'd do, slaloms and stuff through the neighborhoods with some really cool cars. The pre-Omni, the Shelby Omni with XXX on the dash. Probably one of the fastest Dodges I ever drove was a K car. It's a Mexican registered K car with a 16 valve Lotus headed 2.2. It may have been a 2.5. I couldn't tell, but it was badass fast. He took me a drive in the Lambo powered Daytona, the V8. That was pretty badass. Got to see all kinds of cool stuff, but then I went. Oh, and after I got out of the Air Force, I went to work for a Dodge dealership. So that's kind of why.
There you go.
Yeah, I kind of played around with them, and we became a Shelby dealership. And I, being a car guy, they said, "This, you start selling these," and got to do car shows and take cars out and put customers in them and get them to buy the 15 Chargers that we had left over from when we bought them from another dealership. Because we were a brand new dealership. But it was fun, and I just fell in love with the Shelbys, and, I kind of like that. The same thing happened to the Toyota MR2. I always wanted one, test drove one when they first came out in 84, 85, and then February of 85, I think it was. And then I ended up buying one in 97 finally, and just never looked back. So I'd love to have it. I see these Shelby Charger GLHSs popping up all the time for sale, and they're pristine, and I think, I kind of want one, but I remember all the problems I had with them, and that kind of makes you think, so. And what's funny is, the guys that run the Mustang in Florida, the one that doesn't race with us anymore, the red one, the Cobra.
Okay.
Yeah, they were all Dodge guys as well, Viper guys. But then one of them I didn't realize was actually the Shelby Dodge Automobile Club president for a long time. And yeah, it was like, whoa, I remember you. But yeah, then the Neon came out, and that kind of was a replacement for kind of the performance stuff from the Mitsubishi stuff, right?
Well, the Mitsubishi was kind of always on its own. By the way, I never had a Dodge Neon.
Oh, you had the Plymouth?
I had a Plymouth with the Plymouth sticker on the back.
Didn't they have another manufacturers did Neon? Does Plymouth? Didn't Chrysler?
It was just
only Chrysler.
Oh, okay.
The only difference was the hood badge. That's the only difference.
Yeah, my neighbor had one for years. She's probably driven that thing 20 some odd years. It stops driving for a while, then I guess they fix whatever broke, and she then takes it back and forth to work, little white one. So
that's what we do at the racetrack. It races for a while, it breaks, and we fix it, and it races some more.
Again. So
quick story.
Okay, go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
No, Tim, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm very impressed with your team, seeing you guys working at Gingerman, and how you have everybody there was just like you said. I guess every one of them were drivers, or most of them, but having that many people around at a race like that is just incredibly well and hard to do. I mean, to do it as well as you do it, I'm very impressed. I love your team. I love the way you run that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we are very lucky with a few of those are Rad Air employees and then friends of theirs and friends of the team. And I always say you are who you surround yourself with. And as we started to get to know our employees a little bit better, because some of them were newer employees, and getting to meet their friends, we're like, these are the kind of folks we want involved in our organization. And then as we were putting together the racing program, they gravitated to it. We said, okay, well, here are the expectations. Here's what everyone's going to need to do. Here's what you're signing up for. And yeah, they love being at the track and they love helping out. And, we're getting to the point where everyone has assigned roles. So there's no question when the car's done for the day, who's doing what. And it seems to be working. So yeah, thanks for taking note of that. And, we use it as a little bit of a recruiting tool for the company as well. So, we're a franchise organization. So each location's independently owned and operated, but any employee of any store is welcome to join the team in any capacity they want to do. And, yeah, it's been working out. It's been a blast. So, and they keep wanting to do more.
Yeah, well, they're dealing with ChampCar. I understand that.
Yeah, and we're, people see, even friends of their friends are starting to see that seems like fun. I think I want to go to the track and hang out, or maybe I can help crew, at a future event. So we're loving it.
Yep, awesome.
Brian's going to jump on. So we're waiting for him to come here. Guess he got set up. So,
or he's watching and he says, "Oh no, this is not going how I want it to go."
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah. Collective Worst Motorsports has said, bringing one of those neons to Sebring. We'd love to have another neon to race against. So I guess they're running a neon down in Sebring as well.
Oh yeah, so I keep look. I forget when the next year's schedule comes out. I was actually looking for it today because
it's not out
we've got
yet.
some business. I know we got some business travel coming up, and I was trying to make sure it wasn't going to conflict with races next year. But the answer to Sebring is it is on our list.
Cool.
Very good. Now, You're also, what do they call these guys? Wait, let me look this up. Podcaster. You do Late to Grid.
Late to Grid, yes.
What is that?
So it's a podcast I started. We're in season 3, and it was one of those things that I kept wanting to do, and finally just did it. And I just interview people like us, average. Wow, I consider ourselves average, huh?
Yeah.
Average people who are involved in motorsports, so they can share their journey. And my hope is that there's somebody listening that says, I understand it a little bit more. I can take my next step, whether that's their first step behind the wheel, or they're advancing from a time trial to a track day or a, wheel-to-wheel event. Yeah. And it's great. It's funny. I'll meet people at the track. They're like, I'm a listener. I always say the same thing. Oh, so you're the one that listens.
Yes, exactly.
But it's great because I've gotten some good feedback just about someone saying, hey, that story helped me in this way.
Right. So we're joined by Brian Bielanski, who is live from the VIR SCCA runoffs. How you doing, Brian?
Yes, I am. How you doing?
I'm struggling.
Oh, I'm sure you're doing great. I don't know if I have enough bandwidth to stay with you for a long time here, but I figured if I can, I'd just jump in and join you guys for a few minutes. And no, but it's not because I thought it was going off the rails. It's not the reason I came in.
Hi, Brian.
So, how you doing, Bill?
Good.
Hey, Brian.
So have you done the runoffs there, Bill?
I have not. And at this rate, who knows? It's always been something I thought about, but I was actually thinking about it today because I have this eProduction RX-7, which I've just been doing test days with it, figuring stuff out. And as I was seeing everyone's feed today, I'm like, yeah, I think that was the goal, is to try to get to runoffs. Maybe next year.
Yeah, what sucks is
If you need some suggestions on that eProd RX-7, I got the guy to hook you up with, Austin Bradshaw. He's running an eProd RX-7 this week here at the runoffs, and he could be one of the front runners.
I just want to make the show. So yeah, I appreciate that. We'll have to connect up.
Yeah.
What's crazy is that it's right next door to me, and I started this racing with the idea of doing that, going to the runoffs, and it finally comes up here to VAR, but I'm now long into ChampCar, so, but you never know.
Well, it's not going to be at VIR next year. This is our last
Road
year
America
here.
Next year, right? Yeah.
Correct. Yep. We rotate next year.
Yeah. So, Bill, the your car, do you think it'll qualify for the national championship?
RX-7?
No, the ChampCar National Championship at NCM next year.
I don't even. What's involved in that?
You got to pay a lot of money. No, I'm kidding.
No.
I know a guy.
Let me talk to some sponsors. I'll get right back to you.
There you go. Now we just basically just run races and finish well, and we have top 75 go, and
that would be the goal. Yes. Yeah. So we got a late start this season. We started the calendar year off with 2 cars and a lot of goals and a lot more work than we expected. We didn't run the first race until June. Not with Champ. So we lost a lot of time this season. But as I keep telling I hope they're not watching. I keep dragging them along with the guys. It gets easier.
Yeah.
So, over this off season, we should be ready to hit racing early next year and get lots of races in and work towards that championship.
Good. Yeah. NCM, I think, would be a good track for that Neon. It's tight in spots, and you can open it up a little bit, but it's not so wide, so open up like Road America, where you really have to have a lot of horsepower to do it. So.
Yeah, I've been outside the facility, not inside, but I was reading on the forums today, everyone's comments about NCM, and it looks like a lot of people love it and can't wait to get there.
Yeah, there's a few that that's my only win with the MR2. So that was fun. It's a good place. I did win with a Mini recently, but that's a different story for a different day. Brian, you got any questions?
No, so am I hearing the breaking news that NCM is the national championship next year?
We talked about that earlier, didn't we? Oh no, that was when Chelsea and I did the show.
Yeah, that was
Yes. NCM is a national championship next year. Yeah, it's a secret. Don't tell anybody. You'll get me fired.
It's just the 4 of us here.
Nobody's watching. Yeah. Some guy named Fred and John and Ed.
The usual suspects.
Yeah.
So,
well, thanks, Bill. Do you have sponsors you want to thank?
Yeah, we have a few different sponsors on the Neon. So first, the one that everyone loves there's 2 that everyone loves when we get to the track, and that's the Hop and Frog Brewery in Akron, Ohio. We're going to be bringing some of our Radar Racing beer for the potluck at PittRace.
Cool.
And then we have Heritage Coffee, which developed a special brew for us called Full Throttle, because those mornings at the ChampCar events can be a little brutal. So we need something to wake us up. But then we have Wrapped by SB. Hawk Performance is doing our pads. I'm gonna forget some. Juice Media is doing our pictures, and Track First has been a great supporter, and Fulton Sign and Decal has been a great supporter as well.
So what kind of value do you add to the Arrive and Drive guys? Do you help coach them out?
It's funny. We're getting the benefit of the folks that are renting the seats. So so far, most of the folks, including one for PittRace, have way more laps than we do.
Oh.
So they're bringing us a lot of, hey, I think we ought to try this. Why don't you do this? Let me watch some of your video. Let me go and watch you in the turns. We're actually getting value from them, which is great. And then folks that do, don't get me wrong, we have some great experienced drivers on our team too that can offer some coaching and help too. But when someone rents a seat with us, it's the full weekend. You get the test day. We bring all the food, of course, the delicious beer and coffee I mentioned earlier. They don't have to do anything other than show up. And if they don't want to get their hands dirty, You know, we don't expect them to. And we'd like to have a great time.
Cool.
So, Bill, when you bring on a driver with that extra experience who can actually add value to the team, does that figure into your cost of what you charge a driver when you know they're going to be able to help you out with that kind of stuff?
It's not. It's something we're going to consider, but it's sort of something we didn't even think about. You know, they just show up, they start coaching us. You know, we start doing some video sessions. It's like, wow, this is great. We did set our pricing a little lower this year because, you know, this is our first full season. You know, we don't have a whole lot of street cred. So if anything, I guess they got the benefit of that. But
yeah,
it's been nice to have those folks give us some good advice.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I always like to have someone on there who I knew was better than the rest of us. You know, so someone very wise once told me, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. So
great.
If I'm the fastest guy on the race team, I'm on the wrong race team.
Right. And the one thing about, you know, a lot of teams you see in the ChampCar paddock, there are very few egos. And
really?
I said most
are they
of the
race
people.
car drivers?
Yeah. No, he's
but
right though.
At least from what we've come across. So where I'm going with this is, you know, we can bring someone into our team, or even at Mid-Ohio, we had some people visit our garage. I guess that was Saturday night. You know, one guy's under the hood and under the dashboard helping us get our pedal adjusted. Hey, you guys could do a little bit better with this. You know, we're always open to ideas. If there's a better way to do it, let's hear about it. And then we're going to share it with the next person that we see can benefit from that too. That's one of the things I really love about this sport.
I know that's one of the reasons the race directors tend to lump you guys together in the paddock, kind of put you, you know, if we assign paddock, and then on the pit lane as well, kind of put you close together because, you know, you might need some help, and a lot of times that happens.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, Bill Snow from Rad Air?
However you say it, it's great car care. So okay. Rad Air. We like it both. We say it both ways.
So Rad Air up in Ohio. Hopefully getting out of there soon, huh?
The expansion efforts or heading to PA. Either way, we are on the move.
There you go.
But you know, and I'll give another quick plug here. So you know, one of the things that we realize, there's a lot of folks in motorsports that might want to own a shop, and that's another reason why we do this, is to rub elbows with those folks that want to leave corporate life and become a franchisee and have fun and life in the fast lane. But yeah, we're looking forward to hanging out with everybody at PittRace. We'll be there Thursday evening, and we'll start putting some laps down Friday afternoon.
Very cool. We'll see you in a couple of days. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you. All right, I don't have a commercial to go to because I just got home. But yeah, you can go ahead and X out, and we'll talk with Brian and Tim.
All right. Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Have a
thank
great
you,
night.
Bill.
All right, take care, Bill.
Bill.
See you guys.
Let me get rid of this because, you know, we're professional and all.
Yeah. Well, I'm on my high-end, classy motorhome background set.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I want to hang out with you. You got a motorhome.
That looks pretty comfortable there, Brian.
Motorhome. I've never. Well, Doc and I had a tow behind for Petit Le Mans. So,
okay.
You know, that's like a motorhome, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
It's all the same. So, yeah, this is the one event I get to rent a motorhome for. So
as you probably just heard, I just got home from Texas. Ray and I got home today. The other staff seemed to have got home on Monday. But
have we talked about this yet?
No, we haven't talked about anything. So we were at a race called Harris Hill, and great little race. Let me pull up who won, where, when, why. I wasn't ready for this. Like I said, I got home, or Thursday or Friday, my wife calls and says, hey, she's got the fuse panel up with the phone going. And she says, which one of these controls the water heater? Cause we have no hot water. And I'm just like, oh, Oops. This isn't good. You know, or Friday, it was Friday during practice. So yeah, so that's not a good thing when your wife calls you when you're half a country away, and so yeah, so I worried about that all weekend, and so then the race started, the Texas Grand Prix at Harris Hill. We started out with 8 hours on Saturday. Nice, gorgeous day, 68 degrees in the tower, 106 degrees outside the tower. And Lone Star Racers and their 2008 Mazda MX-5 takes the win. It was close. It was back and forth. Love Racing was trying to catch them. Auto Spec was up there a few times, and Effective Team Racing, again, doing really well in fourth place. Mac Racing in fifth. Touchstone down in sixth place, and Cross Canyon Racing in seventh. Why Not Racing improving. They're getting better and better as time goes by here in eighth. Reposado Racing in their Miata in ninth, and Federer Motorsports all the way from Arizona in 10th place. But yeah, it was a good race. The hindsight was there. We did have a fire. We had we went red flag. That Z lady, their Nissan caught on fire. They were put out quickly. Looks like they'll be able to get that car back pretty quick. They did have an issue. So kill switch, when it caught fire, some of their kill switch didn't kill everything. And, when we test them, it shut the car off. Possibly. But what happened was there was still power applied somewhere. When those wires melted together, it applied power to the fuel pump. So, and I'm going by an assumption based on information I heard. It could be totally wrong, but you got to think about what could happen if your car catches on fire. You have to cut the power everywhere. So, that fuel pump needs to shut off. They had a crack in the fuel rail on that Z car. So it sucked.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah. So, driver got out, fire system went off. They were using the older Lifeline system, and they put it out, and there's video up on the web. I don't know if it's public yet, but they shared it with us, so we were able to see and kind of look at how things went. So everything worked, but they sent me a message saying, we're going to change some of our safety items, the way they work and the way they're located and stuff. And it's like, okay, you kind of learn from this, and you got to think about that too. So we then go on to Sunday and 7 hours at Harris Hill. It was a little windier, a little more overcast, and a little less heat at 103. And Touchstone Racing takes the win. Love Racing in second. Maximum Talent, Mini Cooper, yeah. And
a little less heat at 103.
Yes, a little. And again, it was 68 in the tower, so that was always good. Federer Motors. Huh?
I just say, didn't Rick Springfield write a song about that, Hot Blooded or something?
No, it's Loverboy, isn't it?
Oh, Loverboy.
Yeah, Loverboy.
Probably should get those two mixed up.
Yeah.
Sorry, Loverboy.
That's all right. Rick Springfield was a Loverboy from what I hear.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. Mac Racing in fourth. Federer Motorsports in fifth. Siamo Tutti Palati, whatever, in sixth. Cross Canyon Racing in seventh. Off the Chain Racing in their Miata in eighth. And Mr. Hankey in ninth. Reposado Racing in 10th. So good.
Is that hanky like what you blow your nose into, or hanky like let's not be hanky here?
Wasn't there Mr. Hankey somewhere in some show somewhere? South Park.
Oh,
there
South
you
Park.
go. There you go. Yeah. So
I was more of a Beavis and Butthead guy.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. So yeah, so then after the race, we packed up Jimmy, sent Jimmy home. Jimmy went the southern route.
And avoided the
Ray and I decided to go north, and
wished you would have gone south.
We wish we'd gone south. So we stopped for dinner, got some great videos, some lightning and some pictures and stuff, and then headed out on the road, and we got attacked by hail at about 70 miles an hour. So pulled off the road, waited for that storm to pass, and okay, now we can continue. Got on the road again, just little hail, nothing big. And my phone starts going out, little warnings here and there about extreme thunderstorms. And we were just seeing just massive lightning over Dallas. And I'm like, playing Navigator. You know, I always have fun doing that. But I say, you know, if we get off of 35, because this is going to put us right in the middle of the storm once we get on the bypass for Dallas. And it looks pretty terrible there. I'm seeing 3-inch and 3.5-inch hail being reported and that kind of stuff. So we get off this little road. We start hauling ass towards Texarkana. And unfortunately, we get to the second town we get to. Trees are down everywhere. People are outside with flashlights looking at their property. I mean, it's pretty bad. Nobody can get through. So we take a side road. We're trying to take another route. Again, can't get through. Cars, power lines across the roads and fire trucks blocking everything. And we go down this one road. We see it looks like a car has been tumbled through a dryer multiple times. People are working on it. We just hauled ass out of there. Got back out to the highway, 35. We go on. I'm like looking at the storm box, you know, where they're telling you these are the warning area. I'm like, well, right. If, you know, and Ray and I are making decisions and kind of voting on it. What do you think? What do you think? And we both agree, let's just stop here. We pull off the freeway. In Texas, they have these little access roads on the side. We pull off, you know, and the car's at a kind of an angle as we pull off the side of the road. We park there and we're looking for, you know, power poles, none around us, so we're good to go. And it starts sprinkling. And then all of a sudden my phone just goes nuts and the box moves over us and red moves over us and it's not good. And all of a sudden it's like, you know, the storm is moving. I'm in the passenger seat looking, I think, north. So the storm is supposedly on the radar moving left to right. All of a sudden, right. Everything comes from the right and just hell broke loose, basically. Anything in that farm field that was next to us and the trees that were helping to protect us suddenly became right up against my windshield, you know, my window. The window's shaking, wind and everything's going to the side. And we realized we're in a tornado and the car's being jacked up in the air, you know, jumping up and down just like they do in the movies. And all of a sudden we hear a snap and the power pole behind us breaks. The cables come over onto the Now we're in a Corvette, a C6,
a soft top Corvette,
convertible Corvette. The power line or the power lines come down and my head is here. If you look on the pictures we have, it lands right about where my head is and scoots across and goes and it catches itself on his mirror, on the driver's side mirror, and is held up by the hood, the trunk, the mirror, and the A-pillar. The car's shaking like crazy. It's just insane. And when they say it sounds like a train, yeah, I've never heard anything like that. Even a train just sounds really safe compared to this. Everything is coming in at my window. The window's moving in and out, rain and grass, and everything is flying in on me. And I'm just like, I'm getting wet, you know, but, but, you know, then I realized, you know, what's happening. And, I ducked down as low as I can in that car. And I told Ray to do the same thing. And he kind of gets down. Ray doesn't have his shoes on. He's just driving barefoot. And, you know, that power line, as soon as that power line came down, he pulls out his phone and, starts dialing 911. You know, don't get out of the car and, you know, all that stuff that we already knew. And he's talking to the 911 folks. And then I want to say the next thing that happens is there's a lightning strike. The wind picks up again and the pole in front of us breaks and it comes crashing down and the whole car jumps up in the air again from the weight of the wires and everything. And it's like, holy crap, more sparks flying and, you know, against the car, against everywhere. Now, then the hail comes. Now, mind you, we had 1/4-inch hail, maybe nickel-sized hail earlier, and that was crazy. That I'd never been in that before, anything that big. This was fist size. So I suspect like baseball size. It was huge. And it's hitting the car, sounding like a bass drum. Ray said, it sounds like Motley Crue's outside, you know, just boom, boom, boom. And, so now, mind you, during all of this, Ray and I are acting like two grown adults, sounding like two screaming girls. Let us out of here. Help save us. I honestly thought we were going to die. It was that crazy. Never been anything like that before. Never want to be in it again. The hail was just, Ray put his hand, I did the duck and cover thing. We learned in grade school in Southern California, and protect my head in case something came through the top. Ray was telling a story earlier during that little ice storm that, he had been told a story about a big chunk of ice that fell out of the sky on this guy's car. And it's just like, no way. And that's all I could think about when this stuff's falling. And it's hitting the windows. And we're waiting for the windows to break and bust out. And they don't. It's crazy. Ray puts his hand up on the top and gets hit with a big hailstone. And it bruises his hand. It hurts him pretty bad. Bunch of lightning around us, big flashes of explosions on the ground, which was crazy. Never seen that before. And then boom, you see a ball of light going down the wire. And I want to say, to me in my head, I still remember it in slow motion, but I know it was traveling fast. And it came across the window, and I just saw this ball just travel right beside the window. And Ray tensed up. He got zapped, foot on the pedal type thing. And he hurt the next day from, I guess, all his, he got tasered basically. And again, we're scared shitless. This is beyond anything him and I have ever been in. We've been in hurricanes. This was way worse. Yeah. And, then it kind of died down and stopped. And just a few minutes after that thing, and the firemen rolled up, and they said that there was this blue aura around the Corvette, like a glow.
No, that was just you, Bill.
Just my smiling face. There's a picture of me and Ray in the car. All you see is our eyeballs oh, let us out. Save us, Mr.
And you never rolled video. That's you didn't roll video through any of this.
I called my kids.
Oh.
So
okay.
I wanted to talk to my family.
All right.
The problem with that is that I was talking to my wife earlier. I said, that was probably not the best thing to do. My son just hung up. My son didn't, I don't think he understood what was going on, because he gets up super early in the morning. And my daughter, she stayed on with us. Her smiling face helped me. But then I realized, talking to my wife, is what if I'd actually died? My daughter would have seen that. It sucks. Yeah. So, yeah, I didn't roll any video. I should. Later on, I thought I should have gone to Facebook Live, because that's normally what I would do, but I didn't do it in this situation. The firemen basically told us don't get out of the car, and then backed up like a mile, and the cop backed up a mile. We're just sitting there. It's what are we gonna do? So the electric guy suddenly showed up. He helped. He just started touching wires and doing stuff, and it's crazy. Firemen came back up, and they're like, we're not touching that. It's because he's like, help me pull this off. So they ended up, we maneuvered the Corvette enough to get the pressure off the lines enough to where they could lift it over the mirror. And then we were able to get the Corvette out and come out and shake and hug everybody. And that was pretty awesome. We decided to cancel our hotel we'd had in Texarkana. Called up Hilton and said, we're in a tornado, and we're kind of trapped, and I'm not going to be able to make it to your hotel, because normally they don't cancel it 4 hours, right. 2 hours away. So they were canceled it, and they were really cool about it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we got another Hilton hotel right down the road and stayed there. And then we hit a bunch of traffic coming back, and we did have some electronic issues. He's having some electronic issues with the car. So I do remember when that ball of lightning came down, the radio getting really bright. The lights on the radio. So,
Did it look a little like the Back to the Future when they hit the 88.6 miles per hour? And
no, but it's,
I would have been off the back wheels at that point.
Yeah, I was, I'll tell you what, we were scared to death.
Wow.
One of the things that, I do remember was just trying to duck down as low as I can and hoping to God there's Kevlar in this door. You know, I just remember seeing those movies with cows flying through the air and, you know, buildings and, you know, and witches and stuff, and just hoping that, you know, nothing's going to come through this window. That's what I was waiting for, something to come flying through the window. That's how much the air was moving. And yesterday we were finding brush and grass and all kinds of stuff just in places you wouldn't normally find brush and grass. Unfortunately, it damaged his car. I mean, it burnt the flash, burnt all the chrome off the door handle. I mean, it just, it's crazy. And, you know, burnt into the fiberglass and the paint. It did cause some damage. It sucks.
Well,
so,
but you know what? The both of you are fine.
Yes. And that's what we said. We are both alive.
You've lived to fight another day.
Yeah.
And insurance will buy him a new Corvette.
Yeah. I just, you know, I always wanted to do that storm chasing. I thought that'd be cool as hell.
Yeah. See, their goal though is to not get caught in the tornado, just to get really close.
I say completely no way in hell will I ever do that. It's not my thing anymore.
It's a different kind of crazy, Bill. Racing is good enough for us.
Yes, racing is not crazy. But we made it home. Got my water heater kind of fixed. I got to do some more stuff tomorrow. I got a small leak. Got to fix it. I'm not a plumber, by the way, but gonna fix it.
Internet?
Huh?
Do you play a plumber on the internet?
Just YouTube. That's in those YouPorn videos that I used to star in back in the 70s. So yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Did I ruin your show, Brian? Sorry.
Oh, Bill. Sorry, Chelsea.
Yeah. So, Brian, you're at the runoffs.
I am.
Any predictions on? Because it's not just one race. You have like 300 races.
No, it's not that many. 450 drivers, 24 national championships. So
wow.
Qualifying is 3 days of qualifying. Today was the first day. And then so a third of the races are Friday, and then a third on Saturday, and a third on Sunday. And when all is said and done, there'll be, like I said, 26 either new or repeat national champions across all of our classes. And unlike ChampCar, we also do the open wheel classes. So we've got, I think, 6 or 7 of those and a couple of prototype classes. In addition to all of the cars that people would normally see possibly at a ChampCar race. So good time should be had by all.
How do you qualify for the runoffs?
It's a comment. There's a couple of different ways. You can go through what we call the Super Tour route, which is 10 weekends all across the country, everything from Sebring to Portland, and everything in between. Sebring, Coda, Road America, VIR, Thunderhill, Portland, Road America. I'm sure I'm missing 1 or 2. So that's 10 weekends, 20 races, and the top certain percent qualify through that route. And then you can also qualify through your local races by division. So the SCCA is broken up into, I think it's 6 divisions now. Northeast, Southeast, West, PAX North, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And if you are in the top 50% of your class in your division, you get an invite as well. So
you just can't buy your way in. You just can't show up and pay your money and get in.
No, you actually have to do some stuff to get there. So, and in some classes, 50% is not necessarily hard to do. There are classes that are much easier to qualify than others, but we'll probably have 65 or 70 Spec Miatas starting a 25-minute or a 45-minute race to win a national championship, so, and then we have other classes that are going to have 10 or 12 cars in it. Some of the lesser subscribed classes.
Right. Now, does the SCCA move things around year to year to maybe combine cars to make more fields or bigger fields?
Sometimes, it's a dance. Everybody wants to have their own class. They don't want to give up their class. They work hard to get their car into that class, and when you try to combine them, somebody always is unhappy, as I'm sure you know.
Oh yeah,
there's always somebody unhappy. But this is our last year at VIR for now. We move to Road America next year for a couple of years, and then they haven't announced beyond Road America yet. But they've been rotating with 2 or 3 year contracts for the last 10, 15 years or so now.
So with SCCA, you're running usually against cars that are in your speed bracket. It's not like us where it's anything goes. So they're at Road America, a certain car will have a big performance advantage over like Tim Elliott's VW versus the Opel, but
but they won't be classed together.
Yeah. So, well, that's cool. And
yeah,
they do 30-minute races, 40-minute races.
The national championship races, I believe, are 45-minute races.
Okay, cool.
So all sprint races, no pit stops. The only time you stop in the pits is if there's a downpour, and then we get to giggle and watch people try to change tires in 6 minutes or less, which is in our form of racing comic relief, because we don't do pit stops very often.
So I saw people talking about VIR, the storms that were here, and about I guess people are out practicing. I guess Miata's practicing during the rain.
Yeah, could have been. I was not here. I was still in California at the time. But this is the second year in a row, Bill. Your fine state of Virginia has delivered us a tropical storm at the runoffs.
Yeah.
Last year we had it during race days, and that was one of those tropical storms that got here and then just decided to stay for the weekend. This year the tropical storm showed up on Saturday and it was done in like 6 hours. So
do all the classes get a choice to use rain? I mean, they can use rain tires, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And if a race starts in the dry, and there's a downpour, stewards will stop the race for I think it's 10 minutes to let everybody come in. And if they have rain tires, they can change to them. They don't have to. But if the race starts wet, you have to make a choice. You want to go out on rains, you want to go out on dries, depending on how wet it is. And some people lose and some people win in those decisions.
Do they have a spec tire for those, or is it just anything? You can bring anything with a certain tread rating.
So it depends on the class. So all of our spec classes have spec tires. So spec Miata, B spec, spec Racer Ford. I think that's all of this. Formula Enterprises 2 is a spec class. That's an open wheel spec class. So all those cars have a spec tire. Pretty much everything else is an open tire, and with some limitations by class. So the touring cars are all on DOT tires. The production cars are all on slick tires. So I suppose you could run production on a DOT tire, but that wouldn't be the fast way to go.
Now, I had looked at running IT, and I think a lot of our Champ cars are in IT. Do the IT cars get to run at the national championship?
They do not. Improved Touring is a regional only class. Improved Touring was created because back in the day, showroom stock, the cars had a 6-year limit. And once the cars got to year 7, it was no longer eligible for showroom stock. All the people had these race cars and nothing to do with them. So SCCA created IT as a place to take those cars and play with them, but did not make it, and to this day has never made it a national class. And for a long time, the IT cars were what was keeping regional racing going in the SCCA. Huge fields. We ran an ITB CRX. I ran an ITC Honda Civic. And, when the ITB ITC race, in some places, we'd have 50 cars.
So why don't they do that? Why don't they allow it?
They still, you mean in the national class?
Yeah.
So in theory, the minute you start trying to race for national championships, everything gets more expensive. You're going to spend more money on tires. You're going to spend more money on motors. You're going to need more people to police it because now people may want to cheat a little bit more.
Right.
So the idea is to keep it as close to low cost racing as possible.
And IT has way more types of cars.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything from 944 Porsches and ITS to the ITC Honda Civic from 1988.
That's how I got into road racing, was IT with a ITA GTI Rabbit. initially, and I went to an ITB Scirocco after that.
Yep.
And then I moved up to nationals and went to the Neon.
Yep.
So, yep.
Yep.
A
good buddy of mine ran an ITB Golf
Sure.
for a long time, and we did the 24 hours of Moroso in that car, and he still races that car out of Pittsburgh area, and that's a really well sorted Volkswagen Golf. But yeah, so and there are parts of the country where IT is still pretty popular. Out on the West Coast, we don't ever get any IT cars. Very, very rarely. Everyone has taken their cars and moved them into either H production, or all of the Hondas, and all of the Hondas can go into H production. They've found a place for all of the IT cars to convert to a national class if they want to.
Well,
so, and a lot of folks have done that. So, which has killed IT racing in some parts of the country.
Right. Well, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Well, and the other thing that's happened is there really aren't any regional races anymore. So it used to be where there were regional races and national races, and so and the regional only cars could not race in national races. They just didn't even invite them, essentially. Well, now we have basically divisionals and nationals, or divisionals and majors and super tours. But there's no delineation between the two classes. The only place that they don't really invite the IT cars is to the super tours.
Okay.
They can still come to the majors. They're just not earning points to go to a national championship. So there really isn't the regional only. Some regions have a pretty big series and they try to do more of that kind of stuff, but there technically aren't regional races anymore in the SCCA.
Well, they also do their endurance series.
Yes. It's slow to start. Did not have the best of starts, but they've kept the concept together, and a lot of individual regions are putting on their own endurance races. Whether or not that comes back to a national series or not, I'm not certain at this point.
So they're not doing it at the runoffs. No endurance stuff.
No, there's no endurance stuff. There's no time when you're running 24 races to get any kind of endurance. Although sometimes the Spec Miata race feels like an endurance race with a bunch of full course cautions, but I shouldn't pick on the Spec Miata guys.
So Spec Miata, we have a lot of ChampCar drivers that run in that race. We recently had a race, or was it recently? Yeah, we recently had a Spec Miata race there. Wait, it may not have been Spec Miata. It may have been the other MX5 Cup or something. But it's always fun watching that at VIR. We see some really interesting passes. We see some just a lot of bumping and grinding and
interesting passes.
Yes. The last one was a bump from the rear going down roller coaster, which knocked out the top 4 places. Guy takes the win that caused the bump. Of course, he gets, I don't know if he got DQ'd or something, but then the 8th place guy ends up winning the race. Do you see a lot of that in that type of racing?
What's cool with Spec Miata is because there's usually so many cars, every weekend it gets its own race.
Okay.
We do multi-class racing, and outside of the runoffs, we do multi-class racing. So there'll be a bunch of classes all in the same race, just like you guys do.
Oh, okay. All right.
But because there's so many cars in Spec Miata and in Spec Racer Ford, those two classes typically get their own race. And what's fun with that is when you've got all Spec Miatas out there, you literally get those 10, 12, 15 car trains and, swapping a place here and there every lap, first, second, third, back and forth, every single lap. And right down to the end of who's going to make that last lap going into the last passing zone, who puts their car in the right spot. Lots of very close drafting.
Right.
I'm not allowed to call it bump drafting because that's technically illegal.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah, that is frowned upon. I'm not suggesting it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean it's the same with us. We don't allow it, but we see pictures of it happening.
Right. Yeah, it's like we don't allow it. Not saying it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun when you've got those single, and then at the runoffs, because every class gets their own race over at the runoffs, you're getting that type of racing for all of our classes, which is really kind of cool. Obviously, there's no bump drafting in Formula Continental or Formula V. That would be fun, but you're getting these big STU, STL, Touring 2, 3, and 4, fields that they get to big races, which they don't typically get to do throughout the year.
Now, with the Spec Miata, who's favored to win it this year?
Oh, I mean,
it could be anybody, right?
There's 10 drivers who are favored and 20 who could win.
Oh, funny.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean,
that's
really,
how close it is. Yeah.
So
does it come?
And there's 40 drivers who don't have a shot in hell.
Does it come down to the car prep, or they're all exactly the same?
I mean, technically, they're all pretty damn close. You've got 3 or 4 prep shops who prep a lot of the cars, but there's also a handful of guys who really could just kind of privateer type stuff.
Right.
And of course, Mazda is a huge supporter of grassroots motorsports, as you know.
Yep.
They've got their trailer here this week helping out their drivers. I like Danny Stain. He's going to be up there up the front. I think Todd's here. Todd Burris is here.
Yeah.
This weekend. So we all know him from ChampCar fame, and we're using Flagtronics here for the first time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Weekend. So a couple of drivers have taken the time to do it, and I think it's going to be mandatory for our Super Tour races next year. I don't know if that's officially been announced yet.
Well, it has now.
But I know they're pointing in that direction. Right. I don't know that the final decision's been made.
And I've said this before, I think they're taking the ChampCar route, which was don't require it, let the adoption come, and once it gets to a certain threshold, then it's like, yeah, we'll make it required now, because now that you have got it's a competitive advantage.
Well, and they can because we have this 10 race weekend Super Tour series, they can require it for that 10 races. And once they do that, they're going to get 40 or 50% or 60% of the drivers right off the bat. Because if you want to come, you're going to have it to play.
Right.
And once you get 50, 60% buy-in, then it's not hard to push it across the finish line. So it'll get there.
Do you know what the best part of Flagtronics is? No subscription. No subscription.
Well, and it's funny because when we had Jim Ballinger.
Oh, Ballinger, James Ballinger. Yeah.
James Ballinger and Todd on. The biggest question we got in the chat was, are you going to make this a subscription service like My Laps or whatever the transponder stuff was? And James was very, very adamant that he has zero plans to ever make this a subscription service. He did mention that there may be some features down the road which could be subscription based, but the basic usage of it for the purposes of safety, he has vowed will never be a subscription service.
Yeah, and
so
I almost let something leak.
It's an awesome system. Having it in the car and having driven with it now and understanding how it's working and what it does for control as well. There's so many benefits that it's awesome that we have it.
Yeah, for control, it's pretty cool because we, like when we go code 35, people at one point we were actually watching on the screen looking for speeders on the little speedo that pops up, but now it logs it. And so we can tell, okay, well, they're going downhill. He went up to 40 miles an hour and, now he's come back down again or whatever the threshold we make it. And we can see exactly on track where everybody's doing it. Or if, that car, I saw he's got second place up there. He's moved up another, quarter of a mile. Black flag. Sorry, buddy. We saw your speed at 55 miles an hour, no matter where it is on track. So and that's helped us out a ton. We had a fire this weekend. We were able to watch that car go off track, and we knew exactly where he was. And you know, we can't see the fire on it, but we were able to say, hey, he stopped, driver's left, and 30 feet from the stand, and boom, there you go. So
what will be interesting for me to see is how long it takes the SCCA to adopt whatever version of Code 35 they choose to do, whether it's however they do it.
right.
You know, because obviously there are variables that every series can choose to do. Maybe they do Code 45. I don't know, whatever the case may be.
Well, it seems to be like a FIA standard at Code 60. So, which is 35 miles an hour. So I suspect the tracks that use it have the flags already set up for 35. And there's traveling flag companies, and they're set up for 35. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I'm willing to bet they'll just stick with 35 since that's what everybody else is using.
Yeah, my question is, how long will it be for them to actually get to that point?
Oh,
because that's going to be a sea change for the SCCA, and it was a sea change for you guys, I'm guessing. Too, when you finally went.
Yeah. Now it allows you to get back to racing much faster.
Right.
So would that do you think that would help the SCCA with guys complaining about too many things on track? Yes. And I didn't get enough seat time or.
Yes. Yeah. What I'm hoping I can do is get some of the folks maybe from SCCA to show up at one of your events and spend a little time in your race control and see it happen.
Yeah, and they're welcome to come out. Well, I have to ask Chelsea first, but they're welcome to come out.
No, but I'm serious. Yeah. I think if they were to see it happen in real time and understand the benefits of it, and I also think this will also be driven by the track safety teams.
Yes.
Because those who have used it successfully, when they know SCCA has Flagtronics, they're going to demand, probably is my guess, that it be done this way. So they might get the club might get pushed in that direction, whether they're ready to go or not.
Well, it's funny, New York, Watkins Glen, New York has specific laws and rules on what they can and can't do, and hot pulls and stuff. And they never did hot pulls. So, when we went there this year, we thought they were going to say no to our Code 35s. They always wanted us, wait, they didn't want to do that. And they were all for it. And they were really surprised at how well it worked in our system, because they had used that with another series in their system that they had. And this worked much better than that. And they loved it.
Well, and a big reason that this is happening right now is because Trans Am, which is still slightly loosely connected to the SCCA, uses Flagtronics. Yeah. I believe they use Code 35.
Yep.
And that's how I believe how the discussion started.
Well, so Trans Am, the person that's running that
SRO,
he actually came out and they came out and hung out with us at about 4 or 5 events to watch how we did it, and actually worked with us a couple of times. And if you didn't know, they're also working with Paulie and I on our overlays and stuff. So I mean, it's really some really cool stuff that they've helped us with. But they were able to see how it worked, get it fine tuned, and I'm told that since Flagtronics, there's been like this decrease in passing under yellows by a huge number. Oh, sure. So,
because now people have a pretty good chance of getting caught.
Oh yeah. So,
it's much more likely to get caught.
Yeah, and they're testing it out at circle tracks too. So it's not just road racing; it's other tracks as well.
Right. The key though is like what you guys do is actually penalizing people when they get caught. So catching them, knowing it happened, and actually following through with the follow up is always the hard part.
We have actually started something new,
and I love this, by the way.
Chelsea has decided to, if there's contact automatic lap or 2 laps, depending on the size of the track. So you're going to get penalized by laps. No more of this come into pit lane, sit there and talk to Jimmy and the whole bit. You're going to get an automatic lap deduction.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. If you're able to bring up video that proves your innocence, we're able to give you back those laps.
Right.
So in the past, we couldn't do that because it was like we just kept you in pit lane for 5 minutes and 32 seconds. And then you had your exit and entry. We had to figure that out, and we could never hit it right because you can't do it like that. We can only give you back laps. So, you would never end up, we wouldn't give you an advantage. We'd always give you the disadvantage, which was just not cool. So Chelsea figured out a way to do it, and it works. Holy cow, does it work? So
well, and this is why I love it. It's 100% reversible.
Yeah.
If it's wrong.
Now, if you do something extremely stupid, we're going to bring you in, and we're going to pull you out of the car, and tie you down and tar and feather you or something to that effect. That's in the official rule book. You can look it up.
It's section 2, paragraph 4, subsection L, T and F.
Yes. At subsection A. So it's. But it's and it works. We we will talk to you if you go off track a few times. We're kind of going back old school with some of this stuff because especially in the heat, because you still get the fact that somebody may not be performing properly out there, and he's making dumb moves, but why is he making dumb moves? Is he dehydrated? You could save a guy's life, so so we're doing that kind of stuff.
When you guys started doing that, I wondered how we could do that with sprint races, because obviously with a endurance race, you can give the laps back, and then you've got sometimes hours to make that decision. But it also would work in a sprint race format because you could go back and give the laps back after the end of the race, and the driver would then just finish where the driver was supposed to finish.
Yeah. So
it does work. It would happen after the checkered flag typically, because you wouldn't be able to come up and show your evidence until the race was over. But it would work in that situation as well. So.
And we want to show that we do not require cameras.
And we do.
But you can't prove your innocence without a camera.
Yeah.
Well, unless the other car has a camera.
Well, yeah. And we've had that, we knew an incident happened. Like we had a big wreck this weekend with a Miata and a Celica. Celica was leading the race. And, one team was saying, I don't know what the hell happened. All of a sudden I'm in the air. The other team was saying, I just got bumped. And another team said this. Well, we had a camera further back that told us a completely different story.
Yep.
So, yeah. And we'll take it. She's actually pretty damn good about that. The only problem is, who has to do all the video review?
You.
Because I have the computer that can do that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, it's all right. It's but it's good for us because we're learning. So yeah, it's fun. Right. So, all right, guys, we've run overtime, 18 minutes overtime, but that's all right.
Hey, awesome.
And Brian's been flying since like dark 30. So
yeah, he looks like it looks like you've been up all day, Brian.
I'm a little pooped.
Yeah, I was gonna try and get down there to the runoffs, but because it's just down the road for me a couple hours, but I can't. Got to do some work tomorrow, and then we're head off to Pittsburgh for the Beaver River Grand Prix at PittRace.
There you go.
I think we have 50 some odd cars ready for that one, or it's a lot. Start Saturday and Sunday, come home, then I head out to Phoenix for some family time. And then we're back to Road America a week later. So, yeah. And Timmy's going to be at that one. You got your car ready for that, Tim?
He'll be ready. He'll be ready by then. The motor's out. I'm waiting for the new one.
Yeah. You heard a motor during test or an engine during testing.
No. I hurt the motor at Gingerman.
Oh, right. Yeah. Bearings.
Right.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Yeah, it does.
But drivers may have saved that motor too, thankfully. Antonio did a good job. He came in early. As soon as he heard it, he let off and coasted it in pretty well. And yeah, might be able to save this one for a change.
Cool. And Brian, you're at the SEC runoffs and you head home, and anything after that?
We've got 2 more races at Buttonwillow at the end. One is in 2 weeks after the runoffs, and then the other one's the first weekend in November. But those are local home races. I only have to spend one night at the racetrack, or maybe 2 at the most. So yeah, it's like almost a vacation going up there.
Cool. All right, guys. And
you want me to end the show with the words, Bill?
Yeah, go ahead.
Since I got him here.
You got him.
All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Inside ChampCar. If you like what you heard, subscribe to the podcast. You won't miss any episodes. It'd also be great if you share it on your social media channels. Comment on the ChampCar Facebook page, especially if it's a good one. Bad ones, those go directly to Bill Strong. We have new episodes every week for Bill Strong and Timothy Elliott. I'm Brian Bielanski. You're listening to Inside ChampCar on the Racing Wire Podcast Network and ChampCar Live on the YouTube. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.